Hello and welcome to week 9. So this week we're going to talk about repetition statements or iteration in the form of loops. And so this first video we're going to talk about is while loops. So one thing to note about any kind of loop that we're going to talk about this week is we control our loops based on a variable. So this is considered a loop controlled variable. This variable is going to control how many times we repeat something. So for the loops that we talk about this week, there are 3 parts to a loop. The first part is the initialization. So the initialization is the starting value of the variable that's going to control my loop. The second thing we're going to have is a condition. What needs to be true in order for me to repeat a block of code? And then we also have the third part, which is the update. I need to be able to update my variable so that way my condition is checking something different. So this will give me an opportunity to exit my loop in certain conditions. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm simply going to write a simple loop to print out the numbers 1 through 10. All right, so I'm going to write a simple loop to print out the numbers 1 through 10. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with this initialization piece. I'm going to have int x is equal to 1. The reason why I'm choosing to have x equal to 1 is because I want to print out 1 to 10. So it makes the most sense for me to use my variable to also print out. The next thing I'm going to do is I need a condition. Now my condition, if you recall, we talked about conditions before with if statements. So if some condition was true, then we executed a block of code. I'm going to do or think about this the same way, except for I want this block of code to potentially repeat. So instead of saying if, I'm going to say while. So while what? What do I want to repeat? Well, I'm going to say while x is less than or equal to 10. So the reason for this condition specifically is because I'm trying to print out the numbers 1 through 10. So it just makes the most sense for me to have x is less than or equal to 10. Now the thing that I want to do is I want to print out x. So I'm going to go ahead and print out x. Now I'm going to skip the update for now, just simply because I want us to understand why the update is necessary. So let's go ahead and trace our while loop as is. So in line 8, x is equal to 1. And in line 9, I'm going to check, is 1 less than or equal to 10? It is. So I'm going to execute line 11, which prints out x, which is 1. After your loop has executed the body, what it does is it will go back and check the condition again. If the condition is false, then it will continue on with the next line. So let's make a next line for it to continue. So I'm going to go ahead and have end of program statement here. So if my x is not less than or equal to 10, then it will skip over to line 14. But if it is less than or equal to 10, it will repeat the body of the loop again. So 1 is less than or equal to 10, so it'll print out 1. Then it'll check, is 1 less than or equal to 10? It is, so it'll print out 1. Is 1 less than or equal to 10? It'll print out 1. Is 1 less than or equal to 10? So we can kind of see right here that we are stuck in an infinite loop. We need to give the variable in our condition an opportunity to update. Otherwise, once it's in the loop, it'll never get out of the loop. So I need to update my x. So I do want to count up from 1 to 10. So I'm going to say x plus plus. And so this will give me an opportunity for x to be updated. So I'll be checking a different condition this time. So when I start off, x is equal to 1. 1 is less than or equal to 10. I'm going to print out x. I'm now going to increment my x or update it by 1. So x is now equal to 2. So 2 is less than or equal to 10. So I'm going to print out 2 and then I'm going to say x plus plus. So now x is 3. 3 is less than or equal to 10. So I'm going to print out 3 and I'm going to increment my x. Okay, let's fast forward because this could take a little while. So let's say that x is now equal to 9. So I'm printing out 9. I say x plus plus, x is now equal to 10. 10 is still less than or equal to 10. So I'll print out 10. 10 plus plus is 11. 11 is not less than or equal to 10, so it's going to print out end of program. So let me go ahead and add a return 0 in here and run this. And what I'm expecting my output to be is to count from 1 to 10 with an end of program after my loop terminates. And that's exactly what I got in my output. All right, let's do another quick example with my while loop. Instead of printing out 1 to 10, let's go backwards. So I'm going to print out, let's say, go from 5 to 1. So I'm going to write a simple loop to print out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to go backwards here. First thing I need to do is my initialization. So I'm going to use a different variable this time. I'm going to say int is equal to 5 and y is equal to 5 because that's the number I want to start off with, and I'm going to use that inside the body of my while so that way that's what's changing and what's getting printed out. I want to keep going as long as y is greater than or equal to 1, or let's switch it up a little bit on this one. I'll say y is greater than 0, which is also the equivalent to y is greater than or equal to 1 if we're talking about integers. I'm going to see out the value of y, and I need to remember my update. If I don't update my y, I could potentially get stuck in an infinite loop. But this time around, I'm not going to say y plus plus because I'm going backwards, so I actually want the update to be a minus minus. So I'm going to go ahead and see the second part right here. I have 5 all the way to 1. All right, now the reality is what I'm going over is just a simple loop for us to apply our while loop. A couple of things to note is there is no semicolon at the end here. If I put a semicolon, I would actually get stuck in an infinite loop. You might be curious what this looks like. It looks like this. Nothing is happening, but y isn't updating, so I'm just stuck. So I don't want to do that by accident. That would be bad. But as I was saying, these are very simple loops and not exactly what I would probably use a while loop for. So let's get a more relevant example, something I would use a while loop for. I would probably want to do something as long as something is true. So let's say that I want to add up all the numbers my user enters as long as they're positive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say int in for input, and I'm going to then say cout enter a positive number. So a positive number is a number greater than 0. And then I'm going to in. Now I also want to keep track of the sum for all of these things. So I'm going to say sum is equal to 0. All right, I want to repeat my loop as long as what they entered is greater than 0. If what they entered is greater than 0, then I want to add the number in to my sum, and then I want to update my in. Remember, I got to update that variable, otherwise I could potentially get stuck in an infinite loop. And so I'm going to prompt my user to enter a positive number. And they're going to see in my in. All right, so in this case here, my initialization happens here when my user enters in a starting value. My condition is if my number that they entered in is greater than 0, and my update is where my user enters in a different number. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is then I'm going to print out the sum of all your numbers is, and I'm going to print out the sum. So let me go ahead and run this. So I'm going to enter in some positive numbers here, small positive numbers so I can easily verify the sum here. Okay, so the sum of all my numbers is 22. So I have 3 plus 5, that's 8. 8 plus 7 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. 16 plus 6 is 22. So that I can verify is correct. And I can run this program again, and I can enter as many numbers as I want. And it will only really stop as soon as I enter in anything that is not greater than 0. So if I enter in a negative number, this will stop. And also note the way that I wrote my loop, I'm not actually adding in a -8, because on line 15 here, if I enter in a -8, it'll check. -8 is not greater than 0, so it'll skip down to line 18 and it won't actually add that in. So if I add 1 plus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, the sum is 78.